coming up on this week of FRC Roundup, we're going to be taking a look at the brief continuation of some cargo sensing issues. If you tuned in last week, we briefly touched on that, and we're going to take a little bit more look into that. 3015 receiving a red card, and taking a look at G205, which is that rule that was mainly being looked at there, and how we think it should be rewritten. An overall outlook on week 2 strategy, and how long do we believe the low goal cargo meta will last. All of this and more coming up on our second episode of FRC Roundup with First Updates Now.
Your destination for first content, updates, and gaming.
Welcome to the fun.
First Updates Now is supported by Stryker Careers. If you are a college student or recent graduate looking for an incredible internship, take a look at Stryker. Stryker provides a housing stipend, great pay, and an opportunity to work with state-of-the-art medical technology equipment. Discover why so many First alumni are coming to Stryker for their internship or career at careers.stryker.com.
Welcome to week 2 of FRC Roundup. If you did not catch our inaugural show last week, this is a new show that we're going to continue to do throughout the following couple weeks, following FRC Recap on Monday nights. And we're going to be taking a look at the overall previous week, highlight some discussion points about events, strategy, or anything that may have correlated with the previous week. If you, the Fun community, think that there is a topic that we should discuss on FRC Roundup, please feel free to ping me on the Fun Discord, or I will be more than happy to take a look at and possibly add to the show. If you are not familiar with me, my name is Nick Mathis, and I am currently in the FIM region and was previously with Team 4130. Today, on the second episode of FRC Roundup, we have 3 guests who are more than well-versed in the FRC community. Connor McBride from Team 166 and Brando Holly from 125. Connor, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Connor McBride. I am the drive coach and design mentor for 166 Chop Shop out of New Hampshire. Been with the team for 10 years, and we currently are the #1 team on the logo this year. So let's go, dude.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat stat. Thanks, Caleb. I'm assuming you got that from Caleb Sykes and his wonderful formatting, but
I saw that in Chief Delphi, and I started shaking at my desk. The boss had to ask me if I was okay, and I told him no, but, we're here.
Brando, how about you?
Hey, I'm Brandon. A lot of people know me by Brando. I'm the lead mentor for FRC 125, the NUTRONs out of Boston. I've been with the NUTRONs for a long time now. I think like 17 years. I've been in first since 2001. So yeah, I've seen a lot of games. I'm no stranger to fun, obviously. Friendly to the team as well. The team loves fun. So we just got back from Pine Tree District along with Connor. Watched him light up the logo like a madman. So happy to be here, talk some Roundup.
Yeah, thanks again for coming on. And just again, wanted to congratulate both of you for competing at Pine Tree this past weekend. I know it's nice to get that first competition. I know that 125 was at week 0, but nice to get that first one back in after being on a hiatus for so long. So going to jump right into topic 1, and we're going to do a bit of a continuation of the cargo sensing issues kind of that we talked about last week. And the reason I bring this up is it's interesting to note that last week when we were on Roundup and kind of having our discussion, we were talking about cargoes being missed, or the balls being missed in the sensors. And one thing that I noticed that I saw or I heard about at least at Orlando, and then saw with myself at the First and Michigan Rochester district, is we've actually seen it being the opposite way around now. There was I think almost 6 qual matches that had to be replayed at Rochester due to the fact of the cargo randomly just starting to count up. So there was a couple matches where we got halfway through the qualification match, and then all of a sudden the upper hub just would not stop counting. And we had got to the point where they were getting into the end game, and there was somewhere between 80 and 90 balls being counted in that upper hub. So Connor, just wanted to see if you guys, and I'll go to Brando after, but just wanted to see if you guys saw anything at Pine Tree or heard anything else going on with that around the country.
Yeah, so I know at least at Pine Tree, they were having some issues with it during the filler queue on Friday night load-in. Other than that, like for counting cargo-wise with the sensors, it was solid for the rest of the event. I haven't had too much time to really look around at other events still coming down from that from the high of the weekend right now. But it seems to be getting better overall. I know that there's still other events having issues though.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. Brando,
one more quick thing. I know last week I had mentioned about the sensor, about what the sensor was. I think I said last week it was that they were using the same sensor for infinite recharge. That is absolute lie, because this one also counts the color, or keeps track of what color ball it is. So I just wanted to make a quick clarification on that.
No problem. Brando, did you guys notice anything, or is there any like precautionary items that 125 is taking to kind of keep track of how many cargo or your alliance is scoring a match, and something that you would maybe recommend for
Yeah,
teams?
we like a lot of teams, we scout ourselves, and we use the scouting info to go back and try to make sure that everything, especially if something seemed off for whatever reason, if it just didn't match someone's memory. That being said, I mean, I was watching Orlando practice on Thursday. I saw a couple practice matches where the logo just like lit up like crazy up into the 80s or something like that. But seeing the FTAs at Pine Tree, whenever they had a chance, they were doing a kind of recheck or calibration exercise. I don't know exactly what they were doing, but they were throwing a ton of cargo into the goals at the same time and trying to ensure that it was counted properly. So my guess is that this information, is every individual field gets used, will start trickling out to all the various events, and hopefully now, after a couple runs, and now probably all the fields are in circulation at this point in time, that procedure will be well understood, and we'll see less and less of that.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you noted too is that when I was an FTA at Detroit, this in week one, that was kind of what we did. We had essentially all the field reset people throw a bunch of cargo into the upper hub or the lower hub, and then just kind of put, a person at each exit of the upper hub and lower hub, and then kind of had them individually count and then mesh those with FMS to see what those outputted. So, yeah, thanks for your guys' input on that. So, moving into topic two, one that's kind of been a pretty controversial topic on Chief Delphi over the weekend, and Tyler was actually at this event where it happened. But looking at the 3015 yellow card that actually ended up being a red card in the finals, and how do we take a look at this kind of moving forward? I know that when you watch the video, Tyler had posted it on the Fun YouTube channel. But one thing that's we've kind of talked about the whole year is how teams are like trying to actively go after a cargo or something like that, and there's an intake that's actually outside of the robot. And it entering the frame perimeter and either doing damage or just now that this year, if it even enters the frame perimeter, it's a penalty. And in previous years, it's been if it enters the frame perimeter and does damage, then there's the penalty. But that obviously changed this year. But one thing that I think is interesting is 3015 really, it's not even their intake that actually enters the robot. It's actually almost their whole robot that ends up on top of the bumper, and ends up frankly hitting through 340's breaker, I believe, and really just turning something into something that's very unfortunate. So I guess Brando, we'll kind of start with you first, but give me kind of your quick note on what you overall think about the 3015 yellow card that led to a red, and then how kind of moving forward, how teams are going to almost abuse this foul, moving into the season, because I think we've started to see it, and I think it's really going to continue if it's not changed.
Yeah, I mean, the 3015 thing is just super unfortunate. I mean, the it I watched the video earlier today. I can't remember exactly, but based on what I remember of 3015 going up and swinging, I'm guessing they hit the cable
Yeah. Yep.
thing and went up and over. I've seen a ton of teams hit that thing go up and over like that.
They were actually on
So
the opposite side, so there was not.
oh, okay.
This was not
Okay.
where that cable was.
All right, good. All right, I was about to blame it all on the cable carriers, so I'm glad you
Thanks,
stopped me
Tyler.
from doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's obviously unfortunate. I think they were carrying a yellow card already as an alliance. That was another yellow. Yellow is a red. Um, Super unfortunate. I mean, I think the call was probably correct, by the book. But I mean,
Right.
clearly it was not intentional at all. I think that's obvious. And then just the placement. I mean, a lesson learned for folks too. The placement of the main breaker there.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
it obviously you don't want that to happen, but it's just another lesson there. I think in that particular case, the Alliance got a little lucky, the 340 Alliance, just because they were already carrying a yellow if they weren't carrying a yellow already, that would have been a yellow, but 340 would have been dead that whole match. They likely lose that match. So again, a lot of things to take away there. I think that overall, this frame perimeter rule is going to continue to be discussed. It's going to continue to be something that varies event to event. I did see this earlier today, some more Q&As starting to trickle out on that.
Good.
I haven't had a good chance to really dive into those yet, but highly encourage teams to keep asking questions, especially things that happen at an event. Phrase it in a more objective way, so that it can't be ruled a hypothetical situation, obviously. But we need to try to get better clarity on the rule there and make sure that we at least all know exactly how it's going to be interpreted at every event.
Wait,
Yeah,
what
exactly.
tool is this? Is this is it G204? I think is what the call is.
I believe so.
There's 204 and 205. They kind of work together in this particular case. 204 is the one that's racking up penalties just for kind of the intake stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then the 205, I believe, is the one that actually denotes. I'm pulling it up just to be safe, but I'm pretty sure that 205 is the one that actually denotes what is the where the yellow card comes from if you're entering and disabling. So, and I think one thing too important that you pointed out, Brando, too, is that a lot of the times we're seeing it being called differently. I know at the Detroit district and even at Rochester too. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the rule is written you have to initiate the contact. And a lot of the times we in like 1678 specifically, we saw them. When I got to watch a couple of their matches this weekend, they're actively going after cargo, and a defensive bot kind of just plops in front of them, and 1678's getting called for it. And
yeah, this entire rule is in the initiating of contact, and what that actually means as far as initiating. If a robot's on a straight line heading towards a game piece and another robot comes in on a sideways perpendicular path to that robot, who's initiating the contact there? Yeah, technically 1678 is driving towards that sideways robot, but they're the ones that haven't jumped in front of the path. So yeah, it's a tough rule. It's tough to enforce, hard for referees. You can watch every webcast. Every referee's got their head on a swivel looking for any time someone has an intake out, and it quickly becomes a game of intake following. Every ref is just looking for intakes, and quite honestly, I think that's going to likely lead to probably missed calls in other places. Launch pad
100%
stuff. 100%
agree.
Climb extension stuff. So yeah, it's a lot. As usual, the refs are being asked to do a lot.
Yep. So kind of moving forward, after we heard from Brando and a little bit of Tyler too, how do you think that this rule could be rewritten? Expecting an update moving forward. How do you think that
this
could be
question for you, Connor?
Yeah. How do you think it could be reworked?
Can you just fix this for us?
To kind of allow for something that might be a little bit easier. Not only on the referees but the teams to have some clarity as well. And I know that's not an easy question, but
dude, I'm part of the show, not a miracle worker. Oh my god.
We'll just have the GDC hire you after this if you can write.
They're all watching. They're taking notes. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, that another story. I won't get into this. No, I mean, overall, it's really bad. At first I thought it was too with the cable cover. That thing, you can really take a beating. We bent a swerve module plate on that thing. So quick shout out to Wyndham for giving us some replacements. But overall, it's terrible. I mean, we've seen some other pretty dodgy red cards being handed out as well. Brando and I, we both saw it with the tipping of Morpheus in Finals 2 at Pine Tree. But for having that main breaker right there, that's a little bit on you. I can also kind of take some blame on for putting a main breaker in an exposed area, because ours is directly on the side. I mean, you might as well just put like a target right next to it and have it say "hit me." It's that visible. I wish I could give a really good answer as to how to rewrite this rule, but I think this is something that we're just going to have to stomach for the rest of the season, and hopefully FRC deals with it in the off season. They typically tend to do good job at that when there's one of those really controversial rules. I do not envy the GDC at all. They do a fine job at at creating each game. And we're human. We're gonna make mistakes on stuff like that. But it's T's and P's to everyone there for sure.
For sure. And I think one thing that's kind of important too is that when we look at, this specific rule and how it's written, one thing that comes to mind is if we, and Brandon, you said there's some Q&As kind of flowing in. We'll kind of wait to see how that turns out. But this rule reminds me a lot of the 2014 rule that was originally out there for aerial assist that first actually ended up changing after week 2. So I'll be curious to see if something comes out tomorrow, but I'm not banking on it. But yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
So a couple things that come to mind. I just want to bring up the manual and specifically this blue box on here in regards to G205 on here. And one thing that to me that gets up is that it says while this rule aims to limit severe damage to robots, teams should design their robots to be robust. Is having a main breaker accessible for the area considered robust? And that's really interpretation, right, for things. So I'm going to be honest with you. I think if we're talking about FLR, I think the rule was called correctly for things. G205 actually doesn't bother me as much. To me, if I'm FLR, they shouldn't have gotten a yellow card in their first quarterfinal match. And if they didn't have that, they would have been going to finals 3. So that's kind of on that alliance, honestly. And, that alliance actually talked about, and I think they did, they actually removed the drop-down intake of their third robot. And I think we're going to see more teams doing that. I think G204 is what needs to be reworked over G205. G204 is hindering the game from being played, and I think that's the big difference for that. Is that G205? Yeah, it's still a judgment call, but it's called way less than what G204 is. And so to me, it's all about what is currently hindering the game from being played. Now I'm going to real quick. I know I'm dating myself. We go back to 2010. I don't know if anybody remembers. In week 1. You could get a yellow card for driving over a soccer ball in week 1.
Yep.
If you accidentally drove over it, and it caused tons of teams to get red cards. I was in a week 1 event. It happened all over the place, and they modified it for week 2. There is no reason why this can't be reanalyzed and looked at going in the future weeks.
Yeah, and I think
I agree with that.
One thing you bring up too, and like you said, I think G205 is the rule that's been around for a while. That's the one that if you enter or the frame perimeter and do damage, that's the one that has been around. It's the 204 one, like you said. And I think one way, at least my opinion, one way that it could be reworked is, if a robot is actively pursuing cargo, but then you get into your interpretation of, is this robot pursuing cargo, right? And then you're just going to have all your defensive robots playing with their intakes out, driving after cargo. But one thing that I think of is, if you say you're actively trying to pursue cargo and then a defensive robot pulls in front of you and your intake goes into the perimeter, that could be a negation or the penalties then on that team or that defensive robot for trying to do that. But that's kind of just what I thought. But before we move on to the next topic, anybody else got some last minute thoughts on it? Or
Yeah, I just backing up Tyler exactly what he said. I mean, it's a foul for the G204 violation. You're counting on refs that all have different perspectives and different energy levels and attentions to detail. And as we've seen, I think start to play out at some events. Some of these events are going to be extremely tight. The cargo battle, the hanger points, they're starting to really even up in a lot of contested events, and
exactly.
You get down to 2 or 3 penalties that are called on one team but not another team. I mean, that's going to decide for sure an event, and that's just such a unfortunate way for events to shake out. So yeah, hopefully there's something there. I think if anybody has good ideas on how to rewrite this rule, get them out there in the wild, and we can all be a megaphone to try and help that out.
Yeah, and one thing just to bounce off of what you said, I'm starting, the more and more I watch this, I'm starting to worry that because of how competitive robots are this year and how close aligned those top teams really are, I'm really worried that like the world championship's going to come down to fouls. And I really hope that's not the case, because then that's just not how we want to play the game, right? But Connor, any last thoughts?
No, I think you guys kind of got all of it right there. Yeah, that's all I got for you.
Okay, perfect. So before we jump into our next discussion. Let's go ahead and bring Tyler back on to talk about our wonderful friends at Stryker, and for those watching live, to start our giveaway from Vex Pro.
Yeah, let's do the giveaway first. So, friends at Vex Pro are giving away a bearing pack. Apparently, the winner can pick what they like, and apparently starts at $0 according to the Vex Pro website. I think it depends what you pick. But if you're interested in this, Vex Pro has bearings for nearly every FRC application, including Thunder Hex and 1/2 inch hex. So, if you're interested in winning this, the keyword is going to be 2 words: free spin. Free spin, 2 words, in order to win. Don't forget, you do need to be following the channel. Make sure you click that. You get some free emotes if you do so. And if you help support fun, stay loud, live, and independent, we give you some extra luck by just rigging it that way with that subscription. So thanks a lot, everybody. Good luck, and we'll draw for that near the end of the show. By the way, big shout out to Stryker once again. Thanks a lot to all their support. For all you know, once again, no Stryker, no fun. That's just kind of the way it works right now. We really appreciate everything they've been doing. So if you're looking for a great career, hey, I come from marketing. I just typed in marketing. They have 1,155 jobs that match marketing. So if you're interested in anything like that, but of course, leading medical manufacturing technology company out there. So if you're looking at working for a company where you can truly make a difference, making life-saving equipment, Professor Mike, those who know, is a nursing instructor, and he talks very highly about Stryker. He comes from the medical field, loves their stuff. So if you're interested in making some really cool stuff, go ahead and check out careers.stryker.com. Don't forget, if you're looking for a internship at their corporate headquarters in Kalamazoo, Michigan, free housing if you are an intern, which is pretty sweet as well. Thanks a lot to Stryker for all the support. careers.stryker.com.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Tyler. And can we get a poll started in chat to change Mike's top 25 name to Professor Mike for tomorrow? All right, jumping into our last topic of the night. We're going to be kind of taking a look at some week 2 strategy overall that we saw, and then kind of directing that towards the logo meta that we've seen, and really how long do we think this is going to last? To be honest with you, is it going to last all the way through championships, or and is it going to kind of denote with the cargo RP possibly changing if it ever does, as we kind of talked about in FRC recap. But just my initial thoughts on it, from what I saw it, first in Michigan District in Rochester, and then from the little bit that I got to saw around the nation, logo is still the way to go in quals. And it's, to be honest with you, in my opinion, and I think it's a little bit OP. I really wish that and I guess Tyler really hit it on the nose here when we were in FRC recap, but I don't think First really realized how many cargo teams were going to be scoring a match, and I don't think that like the Connor, I think from what I saw in your Tableau score, you guys were getting between 14 to 16 to 18, somewhere around there, in the logo, and that's over half of the RP. So, and in my opinion, I don't think this is really going to go away, and I don't think it's going to go away until we possibly see an RP increase, maybe at DCMP in week 7, or possibly increasing at the championship. But that line that was in the 2016 manual where they said they would be able to change it is not in there. So I don't know if that hinders or anything. I mean, obviously they could change it in a teamed update, but kind of let's start with you. What do you think kind of overall strategy week 2? And then do we think this logo meta is going to stay around?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I really like the strategy. I'm gonna sound like a broken record. Just keep going back to Pine Tree, since that's pretty much what I focused on so far. But I mean, the winning alliance was 2 traversal climbers with a high goal and a low goal. Orange Chaos 4564. They had an every bot arm with a traversal climb, and they were that first pick on that number 3 seed alliance. I think we'll continue to still see low-goal robots dominating. I mean, you're going to see them seed pretty high because of that cargo ranking point. It's a lot easier because you aren't really susceptible to the bounce out of the upper hub as much as you are in the lower hub, because we have not only do you're not like hucking that ball up there, you also have chain in the lower hub to be able to really stop that thing from kind of not bouncing all around and stuff. But I think if the cargo ranking point, if that changes, if that goes up, I think you're still going to see the low goal robots dominating. It's going to be a little bit harder for those high goal robots. But as when I was talking to my team at the beginning of the build season. I thought it was like, all right, guys, there's going to be a shift between playoffs and quals. Quals, it's all going to be about getting those ranking points. We like, for example, I when I was watching events in 2018, 1538 Holy Cows, I think it was at the San Diego Regional, they went undefeated, but they only ranked like 4th or 5th. It's because they weren't getting those ranking points. And ranking points were a little bit easier. That one, at least for the auto, because you just had to put a cube on and have all 3 robots drive forward. But I think as soon as we get to playoffs this year, later down the road for district champs and Houston, we're going to start to see a lot of the high goal robots start to take that stage. The logo robots are going to maybe be a backup robot or that second pick, primary playing the defense role, maybe going back to do a traversal or a mid hang, and not really being as much of the star of the alliance. I know for 166, we're going to be planning on making a Heigl hood for our second event, because we know that we are going to need to be able to put up those points. I mean, we were able to put up 22 balls in our first quarterfinal match, which is insane, and I still can't believe it happened. But that would have been 11 balls in the Heigl. And I know that we can do that. And at that point, it's all about getting those points and outscoring your alliance.
Yeah, I think one thing that you brought up too is like, and I eventually started to take a look at this too. So like you were saying, 22 points in the low, or 22 balls in low goals, right? 22 points. Where if you start to maybe flirt with the idea of shooting in the high goal, if you only make half of that, you're still meeting that point threshold that you were kind of talking about there. So, Brando, what do you think?
Yeah, it's so quals and elims are completely different. I think you have to approach the cool thing about this game, and there's been other games in the past that have been similar to this, but every qualification is a completely different routine. There's not a cycle. I'm going to go do this thing 7 times and then do this other thing at the end, and like that equals a win. Like that is it's a different formula for this year. Um, Absolutely, logo cyclers are doing super well, getting the cargo RP. I think as people find, I mean, our team doesn't have the ability to shoot a ball in our shop into the high goal. The high goal is touching the ceiling. So when we got to Pine Tree, that was the first time we had a chance to tune all of our long distance shots. Once we got that dialed in, we were able to start, really hitting at the percentage that we wanted to. I think that's going to be a similar arc for a lot of teams as well that are shooting high, as people figure out how to deal with the bounce out and all that stuff. Still only week 2. I definitely think that you will continue to see local robots seed very high, but at some point in time, you have to make sure that you also are winning the match. For you to continue ascending up in the rankings. I think by the time we get to district championship, the logo won't be the meta. You're going to have to be at the district championship, nailing high shots to win your match and getting the cargo RP. I think that's definitely the direction we're heading. That being said, it's a very weird year. A lot of teams are coming in with all different sorts of circumstances and challenges they've had to get over. So event to event, I think will continue to be very different. We'll see events that local robots do extremely well in, and even win all the way through eliminations, and we'll see other events where that's not the case, and it's just based on how everyone's coming up to speed, in this COVID restricted situation that we've all been in for a long time. So
Yeah, for sure. And at least in my idea, right? I think that what you brought up is, the low goal is going to continue to dominate, but once we get to, week 7 DCMPs and looking at the championship, those low goals are still going to be getting 20, 22, 23 balls a match, but I think they're going to start running into the issue of just not winning the match at that point. Right now, I think what we're seeing is all these low goal robots. That's enough right now, right? I think, with a lot of these high shooters not being tuned in or still have an issue trying to deal with the bounce out, figuring out what other teams are doing. So they're able to overcome that. And I think there will be a shift eventually that we're going to see where, that is no longer going to be the case. So before we wrap up, we're going to go ahead and bring on our producer Tyler to draw for that giveaway from Vex Pro.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Once again, the keyword for this was going to be free spin. Free spin was the keyword. And if you do win, please make sure you message. This is a shipping item, first name, last name, mailing address, all that stuff. And let me know which bearing type you want as well. And then we'll send that over to the Vex
Thunder
Pro.
Square is the right type. Just for
all right. Endorsed by Brando. So the winner of this is going to be, man, I can't pronounce this name, but Stradestra or something like that. It looks like a name with all the vowels taken out. So, so congratulations. Make sure you message First Updates Now either on Twitch or preferably on Discord, and we will get that out to you. And thanks a lot to Vex Pro for the giveaway. Do appreciate it.
Yeah, if you want to make it really easy on Tyler, grab the Vex Pro part number for him so he can just make that easy for you. But just wanted to take the time. Thank you, Brando and Connor, for joining me. And thanks to all the fun fans for tuning into this show of FRC Round Up. Special thanks to all those who clicked that follow button or stepped up to help fund Twitch with a Twitch subscription or a donation. Your support really helps us to continue to make great content. Don't forget you can watch FRC Roundup archived at youtube.com/First Updates Now and watch live Mondays after FRC recap during the competition season. Thanks again to our guests, and on behalf of our producer Tyler and all of our fun correspondents, I'm Nick Jr. Thanks for watching, and good luck to all the teams competing in Week 3 and beyond. See you next week, same day, same time on FRC Roundup.
Thanks to Stryker Careers for their support in this video. First alumni and mentors are making Stryker a top priority for their internships and careers. That's because Stryker knows that those in First are the leaders and innovators of tomorrow. If you want to help make the world a better place by creating life-saving medical devices and technology, get started at careers.stryker.com. Thanks for watching. If you want to join us for future fun streams, be sure to click the follow button and turn on the notification bell to know when we're live. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. View archives and unique content at youtube.com/First Updates Now. Join our Discord at discord.gg/First Updates Now. And check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.